Now, what do you think about the whole convergence of separates? I'm going to call it that, the convergence of separates as it relates to, the stereo system right now. The trend that I'm noticing is that more and more, separates are getting converged into one device, if you know what I mean. But before I start, talking about that, before we kind of discuss that and look at that in more detail, there was just something that caught my ears, not so much my eye, but my ears on the news yesterday. Today is what, the 9th of July? Okay, so I was listening to the news yesterday, and I heard that Sony, um, and this is about the gamers. This may not even be relevant to us, people who are in the stereo space, but I think it's something to think about. I heard that Sony is planning there's a deadline of 2027, and that would be next year, to stop selling physical media as it relates to video games, right? And as you can imagine, the gamers are up in arms about this because, as one gamer says, you go to a subscription model. If that might be the situation where people gradually would have to move to a subscription model. And generally speaking, when you own a digital copy of anything, you don't actually own it per se. I mean, what I mean is that you have a subscription to playing. I'm not a gamer, so I don't know the whole nitty-gritty of online gaming and all of that. But for example, you download a video game, all right? You can lose that video game just by the file maybe getting corrupted. Sony could change their, what do we call these things? Some kind of agreement, and then probably you can't play that game anymore. Some of this is speculation, but I mean, it's there's a little bit of validity in terms of what I'm hearing from some of the gamers. They would rather to have physical media, just like me. I still have a couple pieces of physical media here. As a matter of fact, look at this. VHS tape, and we're going to talk about this later as well. All right? Because in front of me here, I have some analog devices, not the company now, some analog devices that we're going to talk about. All right? But I thought, I just bring up that to kind of, here, get your opinion on all of that. Going to this whole downloadable subscription kind of stuff as it relates to gaming. Now, if I was a gamer, I definitely would love to have, the games in my hand. All right? But anyway, all that aside, let's get to the meat of the matter. Now, as I was, as I opened by, asking you the question, what do you think about the whole convergence of, the stereo system as it is right now? And when I talk about convergence, I'm really talking about, the way things, all separates are gradually moving into one black box. You understand what I'm saying? When I say the black box, I use the word black loosely. I mean, it could be a silver box, it could be a white box, but generally speaking, separates are moving into one device. And I can understand why to a certain extent. Just off my head, part of it, or some, what I'm trying to say is that some of the benefits of doing that, especially for people who are new to audio, is simplicity. People who are new, who are not familiar with electronics and just want to have a simple setup. Part of that is good because it offers simplicity as it relates to setup, right? Um, Apart from that too, in terms of benefits, I think it also offers um, benefits in terms of cost, because I think that having everything in one box um, in many ways might simplify the overall cost of buying separates, buying a power amp separately, buying a preamp separately, buying a DAC separately, buying a streamer separately. You get where I'm going with that. So there could be some argument for that, if you know what I mean, just by having everything converging into one box. And that seemed to be the trend these days. I mean, you look at a company, for example, like the Wimamp, the Wimamp Pro. This thing is selling like hot bread. Yeah. Another brand that I like, for example, Eversolo. I think generally speaking, these are the two, not the only two brands, but the more prominent brands, so to speak, as it relates to the convergence of separates into one box. You know, and of course you have other brands out there. For example, um, um, oh my goodness, I'm having a brain freeze right now. But you get what I'm saying, right? And like I said, I think there are benefits to that, to having everything in one box. But what's your take on it? Because I've been thinking about it. Say you pick up a piece of gear, for example, Eversolo. Let's take, for example, the Eversolo Play, right, which has even a CD player included in the box. Say, for example, you purchase that piece of gear. In Canada, here where I live, it's running maybe $1,000 plus tax, right? And something should go wrong with the DAC inside, or something should go wrong with the CD player inside, the CD transport inside, or something should go wrong with one stage of the power amp inside. You know, those are the things that kind of keep me awake at night, if you know what I mean. I mean, to be honest, I am thinking of picking up one of these pieces of gear. So because I really love them, I really love what they can do. But at the same time, when you really think about it, it's like I know this friend who has one of those stackable washer and dryer, you know, and something went wrong with the washer, right? And then he had to throw the entire, couldn't get it repaired. He had to throw the entire thing because it's one piece of appliance, if you know what I mean, right? So I'm thinking about the same thing, having all separates converge or merged into one box. You have a CD player, you have your DAC, you have your power amp, you have your preamp, you have streamer, everything built into that one device. You know, and in my humble opinion, it's risky. It's risky. I mean, they're beautiful to look at. Beautiful to look at. They're convenient, easy to set up. I love the fact that everything is wireless. You can boom, 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 and control a lot of aspects of these devices from your phone or a tablet and all of that. I really love them. I really love that kind of stuff, you know. You may not be able to see my rack here behind me. I'm sitting in front of it, but even behind me here, you know, I'm still rocking a couple separates. I think, you know, my turntable is up here. The turntable is gonna, the turntable, there's nothing they can do to turntable. The turntable will always be separate. You understand? Then I have a power amp underneath it. I have another power amp here on a second shelf. Down here I have an old well, it's an equalizer, but I use it as a spectrum analyzer because it has that feature in it. And also I have a CD player. So I'm still rocking, couple separates here and there, but I'm tempted to pick up one of these items, one of these pieces of gear that has everything under the hood, everything that is converged into one box. I just love the simplicity. I love their design. I love the fact that you can see the album art. I love the fact that all these meters, because I'm a very visual kind of person, so I love all the, you know, you know, just the whole aesthetics of these devices, and the fact that I mean, in the big scheme of things, some of them will even allow you to connect to a more powerful amp if you want to, to kind of shake down the room, if that's the case. Yeah, so, I just thought I would, just mull this over with you today and get your feedback and your thoughts on the whole matter here. What do you think? Do you plan to pick up one of these, one of these pieces of gear? It is something. Is it something that is on your radar? It is something that is definitely on my radar. But what do you think? I mean, when you weigh the pros and the cons, and I just kind of brought to your attention or to the forefront some of the pros, many of the pros, but the cons, the possibility, of something going wrong with a part or a stage inside of the whole circuit system, and then what do you do with it then? Because nobody is repairing anything these days. Something goes wrong, you throw it out. People throw out stuff. Nobody repair anything anymore, right? So when you have everything under the hood that is and merge onto one PCB, so to speak, and something should go with a power transistor or a capacitor, or and when you think about it, or microprocessor that's on the circuit board, what do you do with it? There's no you have no choice but to just throw it out and go buy a new one, as opposed to having separates where if something should go wrong with my turntable, I can just go buy a new turntable. I don't have to throw out my power amp or my preamp. You get where I'm going with that, right? So let me have your take on this this conversation here, and whether or not it's something that is on your radar right now, or you're thinking of picking up one. Did I just probably change your mind about it? That was not the intention anyway. But I'm definitely thinking of getting one. But sometimes when I think about the possibility of malfunction, I'm a bit concerned. Anyway, that's all for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching this and spending your precious time with me rambling along. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, and as usual, thanks again for watching, and until the next video, you take care of yourself now. All right, bye bye.